Tonight on the Crucible radio channel, where it's all Crucible radio all the time, the debate of the century. Skill-based matchmaking. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it complicated and nuanced? You really got to take a lot of things into consideration. Find out.
After that, an episode of Cops. I mean an interview with Destiny Fun Police.
Later on, we will have questions from YouTube and, maybe some fancy outro bits and, where you can find us. Stay tuned. Tonight on Crucible Radio, we have our very first debate episode. The topic, skill-based matchmaking, or whatever. In favor of skill-based matchmaking, we have Famous Birds.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Please. All right, settle down. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. We can do it!
And also joining us tonight, arguing against skill-based matchmaking, we have Bones.
Swanderson Cooper, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you to all who are here in attendance. I hope tonight will be a good, fair debate, and I'm looking forward to getting into it.
You would like that.
Guys, are you ready? Have you prepared your opening statements?
Sure, yes.
Yes, I have, Swain.
All right, let's hear it. Bones, what do you got?
Traditionally, you let the person speaking in favor of the point go first.
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
What do you got?
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, Swain. No matter how you look at it, skill-based matchmaking is a crucial element of keeping the Crucible smart, rewarding, and most of all, fun for all players. Just look at Year 2 trials. Instead of a complete crapshoot of stomp or be stomped, you fight your way through increasingly difficult opponents. It's balanced, it's predictable, it's fair, and it makes the trip to the lighthouse that much sweeter. Now, this same approach applies everywhere. We all know the best way to improve is by competing with opponents near your own skill level. Now, my opponent would have you thinking it's unfair that he can't pub stomp through 30 kills every match. But the truth is, no matter where you are on your Crucible journey, skill-based matchmaking guarantees a rewarding, enriching experience that will give every player a fair shot at making it to the top. Thank you. Oh, you're too kind. Please.
Bones, what do you have to say?
Well, unlike my opponent, Alexander J. Birds, a.k.a. Mr. Thorn Your Girl, I, Future Warbones, also known as Dat Boy, I believe in a fun Crucible that appeals to everyone. Yes, I may be considered in the top 1%. I may be an elite player. Now, that's the audience's words, not mine. But as someone who is impacted by my skill level just as much as anyone else, if not more so, which I'll get into later, I think that in the current climate of Crucible and the state of the game Destiny, skill-based matchmaking can have a negative effect more often than not, which takes away from the core component of the fun we find in the Crucible.
So let's get right to it, Bones. Do you think that skill-based matchmaking is back where it was in December?
Oh, that's a tough call for me to make, because I do think a lot of what we feel in the Crucible currently is impacted by the player base, the amount of people who do play Crucible on a regular basis, the amount of people who show up on the weekends for trials, and the amount of people who have gotten pretty damn good at this game over time. Just like the three of us have increased in skill, so have many players, and we used to know a handful of great players back in the day, and now we know too many to count on any amount of hands. There's a lot of skill out there, and I understand that has changed the shape. I can say from purely instinct, especially after a week of Iron Banner, that I do feel like the games are no longer casual, at least in the Sixes playlist, and I do feel pressured to play my best, and if I'm not, I don't find it as easy to succeed. Now, I'm not saying I deserve to be at the top of the scoreboard in every game, no sir, but I do think that it has changed the environment a little bit, which causes it to feel a little bit more like work. So if it's returned, I'm not entirely sure. Do I feel like the Crucible is a little tough right now? Yes.
Birds, your thoughts?
Well, I have to thank my opponent for being honest with all of us that He is, in his own words, a top 1% player, even though he's quoting somebody else. He still said it. So,
all right, cute soundbite.
The fact of the matter is, there's a lot of incredible competition in the Crucible, but that doesn't mean that new players aren't trying to get their start every day. Now, look, when you first get started, you don't deserve any free kills. You've really got to earn it. But if you can get yourself up to a 1.0 KD, you deserve a fair shake. You've made the commitment, and the best way to get better is by playing with people near your own skill level. That's how you work your way up. I can tell you, when I was just starting out, when I went up against players like Bones, well, that wasn't very fun for me because there's no room for mistakes. They'll pick you off too quickly. Now, when I got a chance to play with people who are closer to my skill level, I started learning incrementally the way you have to learn. Now, I'm not going to try and guess how Bungie's changed their formula or where it's back to being, but I can say that I feel like the lobbies I'm getting these days are more predictable, they're more fair, and they're more rewarding. I can feel myself improving instead of just cleaning up or getting destroyed every other round.
Now, I wanted to make a counterpoint to something that Birds just brought up there. He mentioned the concept of not making any mistakes when you're going up against someone who is a high skill player or higher than yours. And that right there is exactly kind of what I'm getting at here, in that certain playlists, especially sixes, you don't want to be playing at such a level where you're rarely making mistakes, because that is exhausting. And, you know, as Birds would phrase, you have to play people equal to you or better to improve. I have to say that might be entirely false to me and to many other players, because when connection-based matchmaking, in its purest form, whatever that means, puts you in a game that has players of all different skill levels, you do have an advantage over certain players in the field. That means that some of those kills do come easily, or your mistakes aren't punished as hard by those players. And part of improving is feeling like you know what you're doing. That involves confidence. And if you go into every game in a pure skill-based matchmaking world only to get a 1.0 and never higher because everything is fair, you're never going to feel like you're improving. And that's going to be stressful to any player who just wants a more casual experience, which we all do at times.
Well, if I could just make a counterpoint to that. Now, Mr. Bones, you're a distinguished player, but I can't help but notice that you keep talking about sixes. We're talking about Control and Clash and Iron Banner. But what about threes? What about Skirmish? Now, if you've ever played Skirmish, you know that it's usually a blowout. It's pretty rare, at least in year one, to come up against evenly matched competition. You're either going to have three players that just completely destroy the other team. One player drops out, and then you just spend the rest of the match chasing one guy around from spawn to spawn. Or you're on the other side of that. Now, there's no room for such huge skill differences there. Talk about confidence. Well, that's confidence for one half of the team, but what about for the other guys? Those skill differences are so magnified when it comes down to threes-based matchmaking that really, to have an experience that builds confidence in everybody, you got to make sure people are on a level playing field.
So, Bones, as someone who's played the Crucible with me, how do you think a fire team consisting of myself and you, the Slayer, should experience? How should that feel?
Honestly, I think it should be an assortment. I think you can have a variety of skill levels on the same match. And yeah, maybe that could act a little differently in threes versus sixes. See, the thing is, it doesn't have to be entirely one or entirely the other. We can have things on a scale. And of course, you know, I would love for the game not to toss me into complete randomness, but I also don't want to be thrown into this cauldron of top tier players, or at least players who are as good or slightly better than me, because that environment is just, it's stressful, like I said. But, you know, if I'm on a team with a player who's better than me or a player that's worse than me, I think it'd be exhausting if it all got scaled up to the best player on the match. That puts my teammates at disadvantages, and it puts me in a position to outperform when I don't normally feel like it. And our team chemistry gets affected, our composition is off, and suddenly it's not a balanced, flowing game. We've got two players dominating or one team dominating with one person just trying to hang on there. And that sucks for a player who has to tag along with their friends who are dragging in these top tier players just because they're good also.
Birds?
Now, I would agree with you there. I don't think that when you go in with the fire team and there's a bit of a skill difference there, that it should automatically be skilled up to the top player on that team. But I do think it should reflect team composition. Look at trials in year one. I mean, people were making money hand over fist every week, taking players just getting started all the way to the lighthouse because there was no balance at all between the one player on the team who can completely wipe the floor with most players and the rest of the opposition. I think that the opponents you get matched up should reflect the overall skill of your team. And at that point might not be at the top player. It might be halfway in between, maybe 2/3. I don't know. But it should reflect the team composition. There should be somebody there on every team that gives you a pretty close 1v1 matchup. Now, if you're going into the Crucible with an absolute slayer of a player and maybe someone who's just getting started, I don't really know what you expect. Either somebody on your team or someone on their team is going to have a bad time that way. So I think we have to compromise and accept the best skill-based balance we can get to make sure that we're all roughly in the same neck of the woods, even when players make that difficult.
So guys, I want to ask a little bit about lag. I know we are all from the United States, and some of us have played outside of, whether it be Europe or people in South America. We played against these people. Birds, what are your experiences with lag in the Crucible? Let's just say since Taken King.
Well, I have to tell you, Swain, I think I've experienced less lag than ever now, and that's pretty impressive considering a shrinking player base and the fact that, people play during unusual hours of the day. Now, look, I'm not saying that lag isn't a problem and that people don't experience it, but in my experience, at least, this most recent Iron Banner was one of the least laggiest I've ever experienced. Now, connections are important, but it's part of the balance. I think connection-based matchmaking is important up until the point that you can guarantee that pretty much every player has got a green bar and there's a good connection, and then not a single bit more. Everything past that is a chance to let skill-based matchmaking ensure every player's got a shot at having a productive game. And that's really where the balance lies.
Bones, your thoughts?
My thing about lag, I do believe that the game has gotten better about preventing a player from running around invincible or teleporting through walls, Titans suddenly having the blink perk, all that. I do think that's gone down tremendously. And in fact, I have to agree with Birds where this past Iron Banner, I saw maybe one person who didn't register damage, and then I moved on, and that was eventually fixed halfway through that game. What I do feel, though, I don't know if it's entirely related to lag, but when connection-based matchmaking exists and is the primary factor in putting teams together, I just feel like you have a better chance of getting a full team these days. And I don't know what's going on in the matchmaking to say, well, I'm restricting you to play against these people. And to be clear, again, we've got to constantly re-say this because currently skill-based matchmaking exists in some form, and it always has. That's never been not the case. It's a matter of degrees, and that's been altered by Bungie over the past few months, of course. But when that takes priority, if it has the chance to, it might restrict you to a clash game of 4v4. And with the fact that they prevent players from entering games that are about to end these days, you might have 4 people on your team while the other team gets 2, and suddenly it's 4v6 for the entirety of the match. And that has happened in Clash and Control, in Rift, and in Iron Banner, and it's just a fact of the game now. I'm not sure entirely what impacts that, but I do feel like a good heavy preference for connection-based matchmaking would reduce that problem a little bit.
So Bungie has stated on this very podcast that they want you to be somewhere around a 1.0 KD. They want you to be facing opponents that are at your skill level so that half of the time you're winning and half of the time you are losing. Birds, how do you feel about this?
Well, I'll tell you, it took some getting used to. When I first had my big breakthrough in year one, all of a sudden I found that just by using cover well and being smart, I could get myself up to, a 4.0 KD consistently. That's a very specific style of play that gets there. But for me, that was a big indicator that I was doing well. In year 2, that is much more difficult, especially with skill-based matchmaking as a factor. But what I've realized is that whether or not it shows up in the number of kills I put up a game or the KD at the end of it, I know I'm improving, and I've got so many ways to find that out. And I think one of the best is trials. Anyone who wants to find out where they truly stand has got the perfect test spread out over 7 matches to figure out where they want to be. Now, I sure miss getting that magic lobby where you put up a 6.0 game with 25 kills. It's a great feeling, and it just doesn't happen much anymore. But when you look at everyone from the player just getting started to a mid-tier player like me or one of the good guys, I can't think of anything else that's really fair for anyone on either side of it to have a good match than to say, we should put you in a situation where you win 50% of the time.
Bones?
Well, you've mentioned trials a couple times, so I feel like I should address that. In the current state of Destiny, that is our end game PvP scenario. Iron Banner, yes, it has light leveled enabled. We've got reward stuff dropping all the time. That's great. But trials is really where the competition lies. But, and I'm just citing some anecdotal evidence on the internet here, it's not an uncommon phrase to hear someone say trials is maybe the most casual environment in the Crucible right now. And I don't know if that part makes sense to me. Yes, you got to work to get that 9th win and you'll go up against someone pretty good, but it's fairly common for me to play a few games in a trials ticket where we 5-0 them in a matter of 3 minutes. Now that part just doesn't make sense to me. And, I want that scenario to be the true competition, whereas I want some aspects of the Crucible to be more casual. In a perfect world, what this means is that in the sequel, we get a ranked playlist and we have this whole other world of ranks. Maybe our clans get ranked, whatever. We get numbers next to our name to say how good we are. All that stuff. That's awesome. And it would be separate from the Crucible. That's a major point of my argument here, is that it would have to be separate from the general experience, which draws in a lot of other people. Because for a long time, this game's PvP world worked just like other games. When I say PvP and shooters, I'm thinking Call of Duty, I'm thinking Halo, I'm thinking Battlefield. I'm thinking all of those games that many, many millions of people have played at a casual pace on a casual level. And they go into that every day for months. They love these games. They play them with their friends all the time. Maybe they're not on Reddit looking up the best perks for their guns or whatever. They're just playing it because they like it. And if it was so intense and so hard in all those scenarios, less people would do this casually. And, that's my side for what casual players feel, and I hope I'm representing some casual players well when I say that. But in terms of someone like myself who is I'll put myself in the top 5% for the sake of this argument. I see that as a whole different scenario in the way skill-based matchmaking affects you. Because, let's look at it like this. There is a big gym class at a big high school. You're in gym and you've got 50 kids in your gym class. And the coach says, today we're going to play dodgeball, 25 against 25. Everyone go to opposite ends of the gym. And now you've got 25 people against 25 people playing dodgeball. Now, of course, this is made up of high school students, so you've probably got a few kids from the baseball team on each side. And they are throwing curveballs and trying to peg each other and throw it as hard as they can and having a blast, hopefully not throwing their arms out before practice later that day, which has never happened to me, I can promise you. Then you've got the bookworms in the back, because this is high school and we're all stereotypes. And maybe they might have fun playing dodgeball, but they're not going to be up in the front lines throwing dive balls and jumping around and going crazy and throwing their arms out. They might want to interact with the other bookworms on the other team, and they're going to be sort of safer in the back, just having fun. But in a big gym with enough people, that can all coexist at the same time. If suddenly the coach was like, all right, you 8, you guys are too good, you're going over here. You're going to play in this small gym. There's going to be 5 balls on each side, 4v4. Let's go. This is what you have to do. And they said, well, we just wanted to show up to gym class. Maybe one of those kids is like the freshman on the baseball team, and the other guys are seniors. And he's like, I know I'm like, in the top 5% here in terms of the school, but I didn't want to do this all day, every day. And if that exists in every aspect of the Crucible and you're forced to go do that, you're going to kind of stress out. You're going to feel like this isn't fun. This isn't the casual experience I wanted. I'm rambling at this point. To sum it up, of course, my end goal here is to hopefully have some world where the two entities, casual and hardcore, can exist simultaneously but separately. And I don't know if we have that perfectly in Trials versus Standard Crucible at this time.
Well, Mr. Bones, you certainly tell quite a story. But speaking on behalf of one of those bookworms, not that I'm speaking from personal experience or anything, because we're not doing that, we're all just high school stereotypes, that there would be no greater relief for me than to have a chance to approach the front of the line, knowing that I'm not immediately going to get destroyed by dodgeballs from the baseball team on the other side. So what exactly is it that's so bad about giving me, or one of these bookworms hypothetically that I'm speaking on behalf of, a chance to stretch out a little bit by giving you kids your own division where you can take out your aggression on each other?
Well, here's how that affects the higher skill players. You've seen tweets from a lot of your favorite players. I see them all the time. There's always that wonderful term we throw out saying, this game is really sweaty. All of my games have been sweaty. When really good players get matched up against each other, there reaches a level of competition that becomes difficult to enjoy the components of Destiny in a way that's just not fun, especially if you're playing by yourself. If you get dropped into a game and the other team is as good as you, then your ability to move around and experience the satisfying kills in Destiny are strictly limited to a few moments throughout that game when you really land your best snipe or you somehow get in the best position. But when there's good players everywhere, your movement is more difficult. It's more tough to move around the map, to get into spots you want to get in, to flank a team on B zone and knock them all out with a few well-placed snipes, to blaze through them with shotguns because they're going to counter you easily because they just teamed up on you and they have the awareness to not let that occur to their team. When all of those moments that are satisfying in Destiny happen less often, that's where the game becomes unfun. And this is where I feel that the high skill players, the medium skill players, and the low skill players are all going to feel the same way, is that when there's an assortment, you have the opportunity to be better than someone for at least a few seconds and come up with a play that you think is worthy of hitting that save button on your PlayStation. But in a world where you can't make a mistake without dying, you can't flow well across the map, you can't tear a path through the enemy lines at least once a game, then the part that's fun about this game gets minimized, and that's just no good for me. And it happens a lot to high skill players, and they can't have those moments where they feel like, hey, I am good at this. But also, every player should say that. They should have a moment where they say, I'm pretty good at this. That was a cool thing I did. And yeah, I digress. Skill-based matchmaking really makes it tough to say, I had a cool moment tonight in the Crucible, and I'm glad I put an hour into it.
Well, you both have made some passionate statements here tonight, proved some really great points. But we got a rest of a show to record. Let's get these closing statements out of the way. Birds?
I think there are some situations where skill-based matchmaking just plain makes Destiny better. I think there's no better example than a skirmish match where 3 players versus 3 players, even a slight differential can completely throw the match. But that being said, Bones, you make a good point. I think there are situations where you want 3 players that are all basically on the same level. And a lot of times it is kind of fun to have a mix of people at all different levels and to kind of get the luck of the draw. You know, I don't need to be trying to improve every single match of the game. Sometimes it's all right getting stomped and I have to sort of be reminded, hey, be careful, use your cover. Don't get caught out and get punished for those mistakes. And sometimes it's nice when I get a lucky lobby and I get to put a 6.0 and feel okay about it. So I don't know. I don't even know anymore. Maybe the solution is that we need skill-based matchmaking a little bit most places and a lot of bit in some places, but we play this game for different reasons at different times. I don't know.
Bones?
Well, I think I was on my soapbox for long enough this far in the debate. I do want to say thank you to my opponent, Famous Birds. Thank you to our moderator, Swanderson Cooper. I think really, and this is just Bones talking to you guys now, I think that, in our current climate, like I've said a few times, too much of it can just cause problems. And I guess this whole thing here, and the reason I was like, let's do it, let's talk about skill-based matchmaking, is like this backdoor plea to say, hey, we would love it if there's some cool sectioned off ranked, whatever it means. I'm not a game developer, but it is a desire of mine, and that we've all held for a very long time. Of course, we want to see this game succeed in the competitive world as much as we want it to be a fun thing for casual people to play and enjoy. And yeah, I think that's it, is that, without it, it doesn't work. If it's just purely random, then you've got chaos. And if it's too strong, then we've got, it's too tough an environment for people to just jump in with their friends on a Saturday night. So as everything else in this game, balance is healthy. And, the three of us are on the same point on that. We just wanted to discuss the world we have now in Destiny and how it impacts our game and our attitudes towards it.
As someone who didn't get to argue any points during any of that.
Shut up.
I just wanted to make the overall statement that we are here on Crucible Radio, in the Crucible Radio Slack, and we're all trying to get better at this game. Some of this stuff puts a roadblock in the way of that, but it shouldn't be what you're thinking about the entire time. And if you are constantly thinking about this lag is ruining my game, these players are way too good for me, why is this happening to me? Your mindset's in the wrong spot. Mm-hmm. If you're carrying that throughout the entire game, you are going to have a bad time. It's plain as that. And you need to adjust your thinking towards what can I do better? Even if it is, a ridiculous game against super high skill players, they're doing something you aren't. And take the opportunity to pay attention to that and to get better at this game. Don't spend it looking up where they're from or what part of the world their ping is coming from. That's just ridiculous to me.
One thing I noticed in a lot of our arguments is that we're really speaking from anecdotal experience, the lobbies we've been put in the last 3 weeks and sort of our perception of it.
Well, yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I have amazing internet.
Yeah.
That probably plays a lot into my experiences.
Mm-hmm. You're just going to upload the audio file from this podcast in 10 seconds when we're done. Waiting 45 minutes for it to go. The thing that I've realized, and I would encourage everyone to keep in mind, is just the sense of childlike wonder I try and maintain at the fact that we're able to, for the most part, play lag-free shooters over the internet with people all over the world. And we've been lucky to talk to Bungie on several occasions, and I'm sure whoever is in charge of matchmaking behind the scenes would tell you, well, it's not just skill-based matchmaking. It's not just connection-based matchmaking. It's a million different factors of who's online and who's queuing and how long we can have people wait, and trying to make sure that new players don't get stomped, but also not making every match a sweat, and balancing a million factors that change every second of the day. And so if you've got a couple sweaty lobbies recently, you are playing, you played 3 of the thousands and thousands of Crucible matches played on this day. So these things are complicated. You got to strike that balance.
I think you mentioned it in the last podcast where we're talking about the melee detection and how they describe how it comes from different points and how they can do that over 12 different people at the same time. It's just I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I hope that comes through clearly, is that we in no way are experts on what goes into it, what's currently at play. I hope I at least gave a voice to people who have found themselves frustrated with this, because it's true. I have been frustrated by this. It goes into why I'm on a 7-day break from Destiny right now. But I don't want anyone to get confused for a second and think that I'm not going to go back into the Crucible and think about what I'm doing and think about how did I affect that outcome what did I do? What did I do wrong? How did they do it better? Even if I was as perfect as I can be, what did they do better to beat me? And I'm going to learn from my mistakes and learn from the skill of the people I face. And if I'm going up against those top tier players, I'm going to steal all of their moves. Okay. Like that is my goal in there. If I'm going to be against a team of 3 guys who have been to the lighthouse 40 more times than me, I'm going like, all right, cool. Time to record this game and steal all of your tricks here. And that's how I'm going to get better. So it's always self-analysis in the end. You always got to turn back in on yourself and go, what am I doing here? And how can I do it better? What do I need to do to win?
Couldn't have said it better.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you have your verdict. It's complicated. Quit complaining about it. Just work on your own game. You take care of you. You do you.
You do you, boo-boo.
We'll be fine. We'll get through this.
We love you.
We do love you. You guys like us, apparently. We've gotten so many letters over the past 2 weeks. Like, I just trying to keep up with this inbox of so many people who have so many nice things to say about the show. We know a lot of people listen to it, but it's been just wild to hear so many people telling us on a personal note how, their life in the Crucible and how this show's been a part of it.
Yeah, I tweeted this out, but seriously, it makes our day every day, all the time. I spend so much time on Twitter, and I just love having someone say, yo, nice show, or what do I get on this sniper? What's the best perks? Or to email us, go out of your way and say what you like about the show. That's awesome. And we hope that we can continue to bring some helpful stuff, at least make you roll your eyes at our terrible jokes and keep improving in the future as we go along.
Yeah, but you can always find us at crucibleradio@gmail.com. That's not where you send Slack invites.
Nope.
crucibleradio@gmail.com.
2 separate emails.
Just go ahead and send the email wherever. We'll just tell you the right address to send it to then. It happens. Also, if you want to just send us burrito pics, we've now got a subheading for organizing burrito pics in our email. So if we ever need to see pictures of burritos.
So many enchiladas.
We're asking for burritos this week.
Burrito pics.
God, I said burritos, didn't I?
Or Dat Boy memes.
Yeah, lots of dad boy memes.
Oh, I just entirely skipped that one. Just took one look and said, you know what? I'll just wait until whatever they're on to next week. I'm taking a hiatus.
If you have to ask, you'll never know.
Meme of the week. It's not, you're not missing out. It's whatever.
Wait, guys, I think the cops are here to break up our party.
Boop, boop, boop.
That's not the police. Boop, boop.
Hey, you went there. I was hoping you'd go there. Well, they want to make sure that, much like skill-based matchmaking, nobody has any fun ever.
Especially
before we do that.
Especially after I just talked about fun.
Before we do that, we got to have that musical break.
Whoop, whoop.
Off the ground, forever circles in her eyes. I gotta lie down. My frangible head splits up, spinning round with the wind. Ever since you looked into the sun, you run. I think it's coming.
Music this week comes from Jacob John. Check him out. It's Jacob, JOHN music.bandcamp.com. Pretty good, huh? Check him out.
Staring at the ceiling. Take some till you're feeling pretty good. Mommy mask is a mosaic. It flees to the unknown. A fucked over quarter known. All alone.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us. In the studio today, in the virtual internet studio, you might know him. He goes by many names. You might know him as Shake. You might know him as Officer. But you probably know him as the Destiny Fun Police, making sure that nobody in Mayhem has a good time.
Indeed.
Thanks so much for coming on the
What's
show,
up, man?
Indeed. Thanks for having me, guys. This is an absolute pleasure.
So I'm familiar with you as the Destiny Fun Police, but apparently we've met on the internet before. We've had a run-in before.
Yep, we did, yeah.
I didn't quite believe it, but please tell the story.
All right, so this is how it goes, guys. Basically, there I was on the Destiny Reddit one day, and I found the Crucible playbook subreddit. So I was like, this is pretty cool. So, I'm a PvP guy, and this is all Crucible stuff. I was like, without reading the rules, of course, because, who reads the rules, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've got this sweet chaperone video. I need to get out there. So I just posted up this highlight montage with, like, yeah, check my gameplay out. And Birds comes along and he's like, you know what? Normally I would delete this straight away, but for some reason I'm going to let this slide. So I was like, all right, cool. So Birds lets it slide. And then some guy called Geno, I don't know if you're listening, Geno, but if you are, you're a top guy. He comes in and he's like, dude, you should definitely try out Defender Titan with no backup plans. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll try it out. And literally from that day, I've been maining Defender Titan. So yeah, that's my funny little story.
You don't understand how rare it is that I just didn't go ahead and delete that post. Like I just deleted everything. I was such a dick on Crucible Playbook, and now I've got a whole army of dicks deleting things on my behalf.
Hey.
That didn't sound right. I got it.
I stand by every word of it. But hey, you're here today, so I'm glad you made it through.
Yeah, man. I owe you one.
You're welcome, I guess. Pure chance and a quality video, I'm guessing. So what's up with the Destiny Fun Police? What's all this about?
So basically, it just started really. I started maining Defender Titan because of that Geno's recommendation. So it started in Trials of Osiris. So I was playing Trials. I was like, this is awesome. And then Mayhem Rumble came up. And that's when it really started going for me. I was like, yo, I was just running around in Mayhem with my suppressor grenades and just, people want to run around with their blade dancers and the hammer titans. And I was like, nope, you're getting suppressed. Nope, you're getting suppressed, And yeah, I started putting it on YouTube and people really like it. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there.
So your whole gameplay here is basically denying players their abilities. And the suppressor grenade is it seems to be quintessential to the build. So talk about how you use that grenade effectively, because I have to say, even for me, but I know for a fact that the entire population of Destiny does not really realize how potent this grenade is. So how do you use that grenade specifically in your overall build?
Well, basically, so if you don't know about the suppressor grenade, it's very similar to the incendiary grenade in terms of the trajectory of the grenade and how you throw it. It hits for like 170 damage if you're caught in the epicenter. But obviously the main thing is it takes away your abilities, so you can use it to set up pushes. So if I'm playing against like a shade step shotgun guy and he's really tricky and hard to move, I'm not going to push him until I know I've suppressed him. And then I can easily kill him. Or obviously the best use for it is shutting down supers, particularly roaming supers. So it's just a mind game really. So if I know, say I'm in a trials game and I know this hunter has his arc blade, I'm just going to hold on to my grenade for that moment when he pops it and just try and land it on him. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but that's where Mayhem comes in. Like, going into Mayhem Rumble is a perfect place to practice because everybody's popping supers left, right, and center. You have to be, on your game to shut them down, and it really helps you get good with the grenade as well, because unlike some grenades in this game, you actually have to aim your grenade and land it. So, yeah.
Ooh, shots fired. I don't know where, but shots fired.
So yes, suppressor grenade is key.
So you have a move with the suppressor grenade, which you like you said, you use it on all supers and stuff. And I've seen it firsthand playing Trials with you. It's like if there is a self-res warlock, they are done, because it's basically, you drop it in front of your feet and it can be just outside of your bubble, or if you know where they're going to pop up right in their body. And it basically, they still come back to life. Their super works and their res, but they don't have their radiance.
Yeah.
So they're just standing there going like, wait, I thought I had like a one-hit kill melee. And that's just amazing to see. It's just them thinking they were about to turn the tide and have it go in the opposite direction. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's an underrated tool, man. It's so satisfying.
I would say my experience playing with you was, we also were playing Trials of Osiris, and I've never seen someone so ballsy when it comes to roaming supers, because like I hear a roaming super like a golden gun or anything, I'm like, where can I hide? Where can I put myself so that I am not going to be anywhere near this? And the first thing I hear you say is like, hold on, I got it. And like, it's like you go straight towards it. Like you're ready to ready to take on some supers. So that I'm assuming that the Mayhem's giving you quite the practice if you're willing to go up against like a golden gun and almost every single time you got the suppress off, and I was just like, all right, that's one super down, let's go.
Well, yeah, definitely Mayhem Rumble played a big part in that, because when I first started playing Defender, based off Geno's recommendation, the main draw was no backup plans. Obviously, with the shotgun kills give you an overshield. So when I first started playing, that was basically all I was going for. Then I went into Mayhem Rumble, and I just started really getting the hang of it. It's just about trying to predict where they're going to move, where they're going to come, and also they don't expect you to challenge them as well. So, like with a golden gun, he's going to just come forward because he thinks everyone's running from me. So I'll try and just drop the nade where I think he's going to come, and then if it lands, it lands. And he's done, pretty much.
So talk a little bit more about that. I mean, you mentioned mechanically it's very similar to the incendiary grenade, which I think a lot of people are familiar with, which is kind of unique in that you can bounce it off of walls. There's a certain timing to it that you have to get down. Mm-hmm. You know, just in terms of throwing the grenade, you know, trying to predict where someone's going to be, what's sort of going through your head, or how does it differ in trying to get that suppression just to where you need it to be?
I'd say it's just like, it's a mind game, really. I just need to try and get in their head and think, where would I go if I had that super? What kind of movements would I be making? And then just try and, I mean, half of it is luck as well, to be honest, because it doesn't always work, but it does work quite a lot too. But I don't know, it just depends, like, on the super as well. If it's a blade dancer, I'm more likely to drop the nade at my feet because I know he's just going to come right at me. Mm-hmm. Whereas if it's like a golden gun, I'm going to try and throw it around the corner where he can't see me, but I can predict that he's going to come around this corner eventually. So yeah, it's just about adapting to the super. When it comes to roaming supers, it's mainly blade and golden gun in trials, and obviously Sunsingers, but they're a little bit more easy because, especially if I already know they're going to self-res, that's just you literally drop it on their orb and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that comes from a strong knowledge of the other classes. Like, you can't do it effectively unless you know the movement habits, the patterns, and what a Sunbreaker is likely to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Although I don't see too many Sunbreakers in trials. I mean, you do get Swain.
Just Swain.
Yeah. I mean, I have a dirty past as a hunter, so I kind of know, you know. Yeah, so, yeah, it's just an experience of knowing what they're going to do, really, and practice as well, obviously.
So speaking from experience using the subclass, and like you said, you got turned on to it via the playbook, what can you do to convince someone who may be listening right now to give Defender Titan a little try?
Well, without giving my YouTube channel a shameless plug, which, by the way, you should all check out, I would just say, just open your mind, because obviously people think Defender, or why would you play Defender over Striker in terms of Titans, but especially in trials, it has so much utility, especially Armor of Light. Like, I have a move where if I have my bubble by heavy round, I'm going to bum rush the heavy, drop my bubble on it, and pull out a sword and just stab everyone to death. Now, people think that's a ridiculous play, but it works. It works consistently, especially if it's a map where you can easily push opposition heavy, like Timekeeper this weekend just gone. When you spawn outside, it's so easy to rush the inside heavy. It's just ridiculous. So if I have my bubble up, I'm running into that heavy and taking it. And obviously there's trials is a bit more passive as well now in year 2, as I'm sure we've all noticed. So you can punish passive teams when they just, stay back hard to go up in the lane. I'll go to the flag, put Armor of Light down, and that's it. They're done. They're not going to be able to challenge me. Oh, well, you can challenge, but there are ways to, outplay them with the bubble. So I'd definitely try it out. There's no backup plans as well, obviously, which if you like shotgunning, you should really check out, because it's super powerful. Yeah.
So you mentioned those two pieces, the Armor of Light on the bubble, and also a shotgun-based build. Are those your go-tos, or do you sort of mix it up when it comes to secondary and what perk you're going to use on your super?
Nah, it's always Armor of Light, and I pretty much just main the heck out of Chaperone. That's my primary and secondary, to be honest. That's my gun.
I want to talk a little bit about a question I actually see people ask about Defender, and that's sort of where to put the bubble, because I feel like if I go into a Nightfall, I know exactly where we need this bubble to be, especially in the raids. You know, that's like a known fact. If you're the defender, you put it right here all the time. But in the Crucible, you know, so you said in Trials you can push on a heavy round, but where do you drop it if you are just playing PvP? Because I don't feel like that's a known thing as much.
Well, the thing is, like, for me personally, I don't play much regular Crucible, to be honest. Like, I'm pretty much a weekends only kind of guy.
Right.
I come out for Trials, and obviously if Mayhem Rumbles up, I'll play that as well. But obviously in Control, if you're playing Control, you've obviously got, you know, you can cap flags. You're playing Salvage. If you want to play the objective in Salvage, for now it does. If you want to play the objective, you can put it on the Salvage point. And in revive-based game modes, you can just go for clutch revives. Like, there are certain revives that you will not be able to get that you can with the bubble. Like, I can just jump up and drop the bubble on two guys who are in a terrible spot and just turn the game around. In Clash, it's probably the weakest. Like, I did not play any Iron Banner Clash, but it's like, there's no, what you're going to do with an Armor of Light bubble, really, not much. I don't really play with the other two, so
Right.
I can only comment on Armor, really. That's my thing.
So you talk about revives, of playing objectives, and of course locking down the heavy. Are there ever situations sort of outside of those where you're just going to, you know, aggressively use a bubble that you have saved up sort of strategically just to, you know, win around with none of those objectives to think about?
Yeah, obviously, you can try and bait other players into wasting their supers on you or trying to waste a super on you. I mean, but I try and just hold on to it. But say if you're losing a gunfight and you know you're going to die, it's just like a get out of jail card. You pop the bubble, you're not dead, you move on. It's kind of a waste, but at the same time, you didn't die. So there is that element to it. It's just like, nope, I'm not dying. I can just pop this bubble, and if you want to come in and challenge me, you're going to die. So it's one of those things. It's like with Striker Titans, they're my biggest target for baits. So I'll just go into a terrible spot, pop my bubble, I'll start taunting him or whatever. The Titan will run at me. And what people don't know is if you just step to the side when a striker comes in to smash, he's going to pop the bubble. You're not going to take any damage, and you can just kill him. That's it. If you shotgun him, you go on overshield now. Their Titan's dead.
So you basically
Yeah,
leave your bubble when that happens, right? Like you kind of give it to them.
Yeah.
And they go right. They almost always, it looks like they sort of smash in the center of the bubble, which you are no longer standing in, right?
Yep. I mean, the thing you can do as well, which is a lot more difficult to do, I managed to get a clip of it a couple of weeks ago. It kind of blew up on Twitter, where I was doing the rude taunt at this Striker Titan. And as he's rushing to the bubble, I dropped the suppressor grenade and stepped back, and he got suppressed mid-smash. So he like pounded the ground and nothing happened. So I got to keep my bubble and kill him, but that's like really difficult to do because the timing with that, there's a lot of luck involved.
Yeah.
So normally I'll just give up the bubble and just step to the side, let him pop it, and then kill him.
So how much of the defender metagame is taunting?
Dude, if you ask me, rude taunt should be an exotic. That's all I'm gonna say. The amount of I suppress a Stormcaller and he'll be like one shot, and I'll rude taunt him and he'll run into the bubble. And it's just like, why would you do that? The taunts get people annoyed, man. You really do.
You know,
To
we
me, it's
talk
just
about
fun,
controlling tilt on this show all the time, and still, if someone is taunting at me, I'm just like, oh, you shut up. Yeah,
I'm going to do
especially
something.
if you've been suppressed out of your super, there's nothing more annoying than that. It can't be.
It still amazes me how, I mean, and maybe it's just because you don't see a lot of defenders in PvP outside of certain scenarios. It still amazes me that people go into the bubble. They just go into the bubble. Don't they know what happens in the bubble?
No, respect the bubble, man.
respect the
You gotta respect the bubble. Good stuff does not happen to you when you go in the bubble.
Dude, I had a clip early on Timekeeper where I popped the bubble and this guy comes in with rockets, tries to rocket me. Obviously, he dies and I don't die because I've got Armor of Light. So that's the extent of the health that I've got in there. But yeah.
I've played a few like Mayhem Rumble games specifically with this build, and I've always found it amazing how many people just like walk right in, and it's like, are you kidding me? This is my space. Get out.
You're going to learn today, man. That's what you got to tell them. You're going to learn today, boy.
So you talk about Armor of Light, and one thing that is interesting is that it seems at this point you have a really intuitive sense of exactly what an armor of light can let you survive that you wouldn't survive otherwise. From both sides of it, what can you tank with an armor of light, and what do you have to be careful with? What can one hit that when you've got that advantage?
I think one thing that you have to be careful for, but you don't see much of it, is if the Striker Titans are running the leg pieces that give you that extra damage shoulder charge. That will take you out. That will straight take you out.
Ooh.
But you don't see much of that. Other than that, it's like, I don't know, say if 3 guys came into your bubble with all had conspiracies and all blast you at the same time, you're pretty much done. But one of the things that gives you even more health is, say one guy rushes you in the bubble and you've got armor of light and you kill him, and then you get force barrier and armor of light. Literally, I mean, it's kind of harsh on my opponents, but sometimes to kind of test it out, when I have force barrier and armor, I'll just stand there and let them hit me for about 5 seconds, and I'll still be half health at least. So you can tank a lot of damage, man. It's kind of crazy. Like, even if you just have a force barrier with relentless and no backup plans, and you have full health, you can tank 1,000-yard stare headshot and live. Just to give you an idea of how much damage you can take.
I never even considered playing Defender before you came along, but I'm thinking about giving it a shot.
Try, man.
So let's talk about the rest of your loadout. Clearly, the bubble, the shotgun, the sword, and the rocket launcher, extra funny. Tell us a little bit about the Defender melee. What's your go-to there?
I think it's just Relentless, I think, is the perk that I choose in the melee tree. I shouldn't be getting this wrong. I mean, I main the crap out of this class. Yeah, I think it's Relentless. When you get your force barrier, it gives you more damage resistance. So,
Oh boy.
yeah, obviously the no backup plans. The no backup plans are the real key to it all, man. You have to max out your strength and then run Relentless, no backup plans. And then if you get a melee kill or a shotgun kill, obviously that activates your force barrier, and that's when the fun starts. You can like force 2v1 engagements, and if you know you can get the first kill, you know the second guy is screwed if he's anywhere near you, because like we just went over, you can tank a lot of damage. But yeah, the key is max strength as well, because obviously your melee recharges every 25 seconds. So say I kill one guy, I get force barrier. By the time it runs out, my melee's recharged, my next shotgun kill is going to get me force barrier. So yeah, it's just an unending cycle of OP health.
Have you ever mixed it up with other armor exotics, like, the armamentarium to get double suppressors? No.
Literally just no backup plans. Dude, I've been playing the same setup for like 6 months straight, man. Like, I haven't even...
That's amazing.
Yeah. Plus, it's part of the uniform, man. The Fun Police is not the Fun Police without the no backup plans, man. Just a regular old Defender Titan, man.
You already mentioned your primary and your secondary happen to be the same gun. But just humor me. What are you running in the slot that's called your primary slot? What do you like there?
Well, I like scout rifles. I like pulse rifles. I like hand cannons. I do not like auto rifles. I don't like being stood in the same place too long while I'm shooting. So I just don't like those. But recently I've been running the Cocytus quite a lot, which is a high impact scout rifle. Yeah, it's a really good gun, because obviously with the Chaperone I've kind of got short range and then short medium range on lockdown. So then I can play a longer game with the Cocytus and then push. But it depends on the map as well. I like the Suros PDX 45 with counterbalance. That's another favorite. Mm-hmm. And then IS Lunar as well with Luck in the Chamber and Rifle Barrel. Nothing's a beast. But you can only use it on certain maps though, because the range drop off is really apparent with those. If I could, I would just run hand cannon all the time, to be honest.
I actually spent all of Iron Banner running my IS Luna, and you're right, there's a lot of maps it just doesn't work on, but I did it anyways. It didn't work very well, but it's fun.
Hand cannons are the best, because there's nothing more satisfying than popping in and out of cover and hitting a guy a couple of times in the head while he's spraying his doctrine. Do you know what I mean? It's just more satisfying for me. And obviously you're better in the air as well.
Well, so the last major component to Titan play is, of course, skating, which everyone does. And, I'm sure that's a component. But how do you feel about your movement? Do you find yourself aggressive because you have the no backup plans, or do you stick to map control? Do you move around a lot?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if we get a pick, or if one of my teammates who usually a sniper gets a pick, then I'm just skating over to that orb like a madman, trying to take down whoever's going for that res, pretty much.
Right. Okay.
And Titan skating is big for me. I mean, the thing is, in year one, I was pretty trash on my Titan. Like, I just used to play striker. I would just pull him out for a flawless run and then put him back in the cupboard. So I had to learn Titan skating. But honestly, I feel there's nothing better for closing in on people than Titan skating. And just, especially when you've got that force barrier up, man, there's not much they can do it's way worse than Juggernaut. People think Juggernaut's OP. They just don't understand.
Yeah, I'm just getting kind of annoyed thinking about this build right now. I guess it's working to its intended effect.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. This is a really specific question, but because you're primarily a shotgunner and you're a Titan and you've got that really aggressive movement, this is just something I've sort of been trying to dial in with that build. What kind of sensitivity do you prefer?
I was running at 10 sensitivity, but
okay.
But yeah, I'm one of those guys. But basically, my pad that I've been using for like a year, it just stopped working on me, so I went to a different pad. And for whatever reason, 10 is no longer doable, so I dialed it down to 8.
Well, a very sensible 8 down from 10.
I mean, I know a lot of the top players run on much lower sensitivity, but like, I don't know, I'm making plays where I'm forcing 2v1s and stuff like that, so I want to quickly like kill you and move on to the next one and make, whatever adjustments I need to make. So yeah, I like to run on a higher sensitivity. I just feel quicker. Like I can react to more unpredictable situations much faster.
I just get dizzy. If I go over 5, I'm just like running around, making circles in the air.
If you played Call of Duty back in the day, man, 10 on Destiny, it feels like 5 on Call of Duty. So it's one of those things.
I guess it helps that I didn't play any Call of Duty competitively.
Yeah, Call of Duty 4 was my jam back in the day.
So you mentioned that you're primarily a Trials player if Mayhem Rumble isn't coming around. And you've talked about how Defender Titan plays to that, but we've got a lot of listeners who care a lot about getting to the Lighthouse, some players who have never been there. For people who are still working to get to the Lighthouse, do you have any sort of general Trials advice that you've picked up as you've sort of figured out how to do this that you want to share?
I'd say the first thing is you've got to be confident that you can do it. Because if you go into it thinking, we need to get lucky, or these guys are so good, you've already lost half the battle right there. You need to build up your skills to the point where you're confident in yourself and then make plays, man. Don't just hope to let, the stars align and you make it somehow. You got to make it happen, man. You got to go for it.
That and save your coins for the rude taunt.
The real secret to getting to
you've heard it here first.
Yeah, I mean, try Defender Titan, man. If you guys have never tried it before and you think it might work for you, man. I mean, I'm not going to come out and say it's not an easy class to play, not by any means, but it can work for certain people. If you're a shotgun guy and you haven't considered it, I'd definitely consider it, man. Then maybe you'll learn the rest of it. It's fucking fun.
So where can our viewers find you, whether it be Twitch or YouTube or...
You can find me on YouTube, Destiny Fun Police. You can find me on Twitter at Destiny Fun Popo. And then on Twitch, you can find me at Shake17. Yeah, I know, bit of a goof there. But I never planned on streaming. I only made that account to watch my friends stream. So I'm kind of, started streaming, and now I've got almost got 700 followers. I'm debating whether to make a Fun Police Twitch account. I don't want to lose my followers, man. So, yeah, it's Sheikh17. That's SHEIKH17. Just in case.
And we get links for all y'all. But dude, thank you so much for coming on, because this is so cool, because we always talk to players who, use it all. And I'm the same way, where it's like, I just want to be pretty good at everything, but actually committing to a play style is so awesome. And to say that this is what I use every time and this is what works for me, and it's something that doesn't work for everyone, is really cool, dude. So keep doing what you're doing, and everyone, seriously, check out the officers' clips, because they are too insane. Just like revive sniping with a chaperone and denying self-res is just, it's ridiculous. They're really fun.
Thanks, man. Super psyched to be
thanks
on
for
with you
coming
guys, man. It's been a pleasure.
Of course.
Kind of surreal, to be honest, man, because I listened to the show. I post on Playbook, and now I'm on the podcast. It's super, super cool, man.
Thank God
that.
Birds didn't delete your post, because he's a
Yeah,
terrible
man.
mod and hates fun.
Seriously, Birds in general.
That's my version of the fun police.
You guys are the
right
real
there.
MVPs, man.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Just no more montages, or we'll have to find out. No, for real. Everybody check it out. Thanks so much for coming on the show,
Thank
man.
you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
Cheers.
You took the best thing that I had. I feel like shit. I hope you're glad you're so dumb. Oh yeah, fuck you. It feels so good to be.
Well, last week we did ask for some questions from the YouTube audience. We've only got a little bit of time left, but we got some questions. Let's go through them. First question's from Bullet Gunpowder. Hey Radio, I'm 12 and play Destiny. I thought no one would do trials with me because I'm too young, but True Vanguard did it, so I can do it with any of you guys. I'm not the best though. Please answer me on the next Crucible Radio. Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll play.
There you go.
We might be up a little bit late.
Yeah. We're up all night. We'll play some trials.
Past your bedtime.
Next question is from Spencer Bro. Talking about bragging, I nabbed an LDR 5001 that is meh. By the way, is ambush okay even though it has like minus 10,000 aim assist?
Here's the thing. If the roll is good, use ambush if it's the best scope available. It's all about getting down to an average base aim assist, and it won't go terribly low. The perks are what matters first and foremost. If you have two guns with even perks and one has a short gaze, I might go with the short gaze. It's all about feel, though.
I would think back to year one and how many times you got killed by a Praetus and just remember that it was being used with the ambush.
Hey, you got yourself an LDR. That's pretty cool. I need a new LDR.
Oh, man.
All right, next question from John Robert. I see a lot of the same weapons used by everyone in the community. 1,000-Yard Theory D, Terminus, Mida Doctrine, several others, and now Longbow and LDR in the mix. I don't use these weapons in the Crucible aside from Mida because it's the only one of them I have. A good weapon that I use, and I have only seen two other people use, is the Extra Solar from Dead Orbit. Nice rate of fire, satisfying firefly, decent stability. What I want to know, what weapon do you use very well and enjoy using, but don't see really anyone else in the community using?
I've been using the Tuanilla from the Gunsmith. Got a good one with Icarus on it. Land some of those air shots. I love it. It's a nice legendary substitution for the Mida. You just gotta wait for that package from the Gunsmith.
I would say that since the December update, have been vouching for the first curse, and I think I have a pretty good handle on the gun. I like that gun a lot, and it's not all over the place. It's definitely not unused, but I could definitely say that's my my sleeper gun. Oh, or the sleeper simulant. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty good with that.
Another gun that's a sleeper. I'm pretty boring, but I have been experimenting with every single fusion rifle I can get my hands on. It kind of gets overshadowed by the beast that is the Vacancy, but I've been enjoying the other Future War Cult fusion, the Vortex. It's got a great roll on it, and if you've got good aim, it's a nasty little guy. It's also one of my favorite sounding ones. Very good.
But can it res vape?
No res vaping for me, but that could be said for a lot. All right, next question. Isaac Foster, question for next week's podcast. What is your favorite variant of Inferno Crucible game modes? If anything could be Inferno, example, mine would be Trials of Osiris because every round would be super round.
Ooh. Can I steal his? Is that allowed?
We got to have at least one.
I'll say Inferno Illumination. I did it.
That is actually my favorite game mode, and it does come up if you play Inferno 3s, you'll get an Inferno Elimination variant. It is so good.
I really love Inferno Rumble. Not very original. It's just super fun. But in Inferno Iron Banner would just be hilarious.
Inferno Clash this week makes me want to cry.
Gotta have that team.
Yeah, you can't solo queue that. I can't casually play Inferno Clash.
All right. We got a question from Reaper 27, maybe 333.
No.
2733. The numbers kind of run together. He wants to know, what is your guys' favorite emotes and why?
Man, I want to switch to Rude Taunt now that we've listened to Phone Police. No, I use praise the light. Praise the light, because it works great when you sun charge someone and then you praise the light.
This is maybe the hardest decision I've had to make in the game of Destiny.
It's the easiest decision for me in the world to make. My favorite, without a doubt, is Energetic Dance, where you step to the side, put your hands on your hips, and then you just do a little thrust. And every single time I do it, I go, stop, wait a minute, get my cup. And then you do the little gangnam around in a circle. It is a great move and uniquely infuriating.
I might have to say Rock Out, where you just like break out in that insane guitar solo. I love it.
Alcancia wants to know, so is Destiny actually worth returning to?
Yeah, come back.
Fill the lobbies, please.
There you go.
Have your fun with Overwatch and return to Destiny. It's a beautiful game. We're all having fun.
This one comes from Still Waiting and is perhaps my favorite question of the bunch. Bones is the epitome of a garbage Destiny
Is it a
player.
question?
Shotgunning takes no skill. Being a Sun Singer takes no skill. Put them both together, and you are 1,000% garbage. That's all I've seen. This Iron Banner is garbage everywhere.
All right. First of all, I thought I was garbage because I like quick scoping and I'm super biased towards snipers. That's been my thing for so long.
He literally just put out a montage of jump snipes. That's all it was. Jump snipes.
Yeah. Dude,
Epitome of a garbage Destiny player.
I play to win because I love winning and some things win for me very well. Plus, I play more Striker Titan than Warlock these days anyways.
Woo, Titans.
Finally, Swain, I think this one was aimed at you. Please buff Blade Dancer's Arc Blade. Could you get on it?
Yeah, man. Let me look around here. Yeah, Tuesday. Hopefully Tuesday.
Hopefully Tuesday. No promises, but if it happened, it would be like easily the most insane thing to happen on this show. We should make more random promises just to see if they come true.
Yep. We'll get Mr. Bungie on the phone.
I'm rebuffing Thorn.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
Just
With
for
great
you.
power comes great responsibility.
At that, we had a great time answering our YouTube questions, but you can always send them to us on Twitter at Crucible Radio. You can follow us on the YouTubes if you're already on it at Crucible Radio, and hit us up. Send us your questions. Send us how you've improved by listening to Crucible Radio. We want to hear it. We love hearing it. Helps us wake up and have a good day.
It's inspiring. We should read some more of those on the show next week.
Sounds good to me.
Birds, I won, right? The debate.
We're all winners, right?
Not, but like in debate terms, I probably won.
I don't
Pull over.
Care.
You're asking me to be a bigger man, and I'm
Pull
having
over.
a lot of trouble with it. If I say that you won, am I being the bigger man and actually I'm the winner? Because in that case, yeah, sure.
Oh no! I was totally gonna say that you won. I was just joking. I was totally joking. You.
Oh. No, you won. It's fine. All right. Let's wrap this up, guys.